Breaking news overnight, actor John Witherspoon, best known for his role in the Friday film franchise, has died. His family confirmed his sudden death in a message posted to his Twitter account last night.
John Witherspoon, the actor who became a beloved figure through his roles in Friday, The Boondocks, and The Wayans Brothers, was known for his comedic genius and iconic catchphrases. But there was more to the man than the laughs and unforgettable characters. Behind his iconic roles, John faced struggles in his personal and professional life that few knew about. The laughter we remember from his movies and television appearances masked the hardships he endured, making the shocking truth about his life even more poignant. John Witherspoon was not just an actor. He was a man who fought through his challenges, from financial instability to emotional battles, all while continuing to bring humor to the world. John's son, J.D. Witherspoon, has finally shed light on the struggles his father went through behind the scenes. Despite the laughter he shared with his audience, John had personal challenges that many were unaware of. The man who made us laugh with lines like, "I can't wait to see your mama, that big old booty bouncing," dealt with his own demons. JD has revealed that John's family life wasn't always as picture-perfect as it appeared. His father was a workaholic who often struggled with finding a balance between his career and personal life, and the pressure of maintaining his success in Hollywood led to emotional and physical strain. Growing up in a large family in Detroit, John faced financial hardships early on. He had to hustle from a young age, working various jobs just to survive. His early days in the industry were marked by constant rejection, but his relentless drive and passion for comedy eventually paid off. However, the road to success wasn't an easy one. John's early experiences with money problems, constant job changes, and the struggle to make ends meet shaped his persona. His story is a testament to resilience, but it also reflects the sacrifices he had to make to get where he was. JD explains how his father's tough upbringing influenced his approach to life and his work ethic. Even after achieving success, John felt the need to keep pushing forward. He couldn't stop, even when his health began to decline. This relentless drive is what made John Witherspoon stand out, but it also came with its own set of consequences. It wasn't just about the fame or the money. It was about proving to himself and others that he was worthy of success. In many ways, this desire for validation shaped much of John's life, even after he became a comedy legend. His true story is one of perseverance, emotional hardship, and the pursuit of success at any cost. And while he brought laughter to millions, he also faced the pressures of living up to the expectations that came with that fame. The man behind the humor was much more complex than anyone realized, and his son's revelations paint a picture of a man who fought to survive in a world that was never as kind to him as it seemed. The hard-earned path to Hollywood stardom. John Witherspoon's journey to Hollywood stardom was anything but easy. It was a path filled with rejection, financial struggles, and relentless hustle. Raised in Detroit in a family of 11 siblings, John had a tough start in life. His early years were marked by poverty, and he often had to make do with what little he had. One of his most memorable stories from his youth was how he had to wear 2 left boots to school. Even with all the adversity he faced, John managed to keep a sense of humor about his situation. His experiences in those formative years would later shape his comedic voice and the way he approached life. John's career took off after years of working tirelessly in New York City. He started with humble beginnings, taking on any job that would keep him afloat. From working at Gucci to performing at the Comedy Store, John's hustle was undeniable. But the road to success was long and full of setbacks. He recalls how he lost all his money during his first trip to Vegas and had to call his family back home for help. But even in the face of financial ruin, John refused to give up. His resilience was unmatched, and this perseverance is what eventually led him to Hollywood. In 1971, John's big break came when he decided to pursue acting seriously. His brother and his brother's family were part of a theater group, and it was through them that John first realized he wanted to be an actor. He enrolled in acting classes, scraped together the money to pay for lessons, and began to take his dreams seriously. It wasn't long before he was performing at open mic nights and introducing himself to anyone who would listen. These early experiences in comedy and theater laid the foundation for John's rise to fame. By the mid-1970s, John Witherspoon was making a name for himself on the comedy circuit. He opened for comedy legends like Richard Pryor and David Letterman, rubbing elbows with the giants of the industry. His ability to improvise and make people laugh without a script became his trademark. But while he was gaining recognition, he still wasn't a household name. It wasn't until he took on the role of Pops in the Wayans Brothers and Mr. Jones in Friday that John became a comedy icon. His natural comedic timing and ability to bring humor to even the simplest lines made him a fan favorite. John's rise to stardom wasn't a smooth one, but it was a testament to his hard work, resilience, and raw talent. His journey was filled with challenges, but he kept going, refusing to let anything stop him. The path that led John Witherspoon to Hollywood was long, filled with financial struggles, personal hardship, and constant hustle. But in the end, his perseverance paid off, and he became one of the most beloved comedians of his generation. Behind the laughter. While John Witherspoon's career was filled with laughter and memorable roles, his time in Hollywood was not without its fair share of drama. Like many stars, John found himself caught in the complex web of Hollywood politics, where egos clashed and loyalty was often tested. One of the most surprising revelations came from his time on the Wayans Brothers. Despite the undeniable chemistry he had with the cast, John was nearly left out of the show due to his perceived ghetto persona. NBC didn't want him because they felt he was too country and didn't fit their vision. This shocking revelation sheds new light on the behind-the-scenes struggles John faced while navigating the entertainment industry. The story behind the Wayans Brothers show's success is filled with drama. The network initially rejected John Witherspoon, deeming him unfit for television. However, Damon and Sean Wayans, who had created the show, weren't about to let the network dictate who could be part of their project. They stood firm and made it clear that if John wasn't cast, they would walk away from the deal. It was a bold move, but the Wayans brothers knew that John's presence was essential to the show's success. In the end, they took their project to WB, who immediately signed on one condition: John Witherspoon had to be part of the cast. This moment marked a turning point in John's career. It showed that his influence was undeniable and that his presence on screen could not be ignored. The gamble paid off, as the Wayans brothers became a hit, and John's character, Pops, became a fan favorite. But this behind-the-scenes drama also exposed the harsh realities of the entertainment industry. Despite his talent, John had to fight to be seen, and this struggle was far from unique in Hollywood. Many talented actors and comedians face similar challenges, but few have the strength and perseverance to overcome them like John did. Hollywood's rejection of John Witherspoon was not just about his talent, it was about perception. The entertainment industry has a history of marginalizing actors who don't fit the traditional mold, and John was no exception. He was labeled as too ghetto, too raw. But these were the very qualities that made him a standout comedian. His authenticity, his unfiltered humor, and his willingness to speak his truth were what set him apart from others in the industry. In many ways, John Witherspoon's struggle against Hollywood standards is a story of resilience and fighting for the right to be heard and seen. John Witherspoon's family struggles. Despite John Witherspoon's success in Hollywood, his personal life was often filled with challenges that went unnoticed by his fans. John's family life was not as picture-perfect as many would have assumed, and his son JD has revealed some heartbreaking truths about their relationship. JD explained that while his father was dedicated to providing for his family, he often struggled with being emotionally available. John's relentless pursuit of success came at the expense of his personal relationships, and this created a tension that JD had to come to terms with. Growing up, JD was proud of his father's success, but also felt the strain of not having him fully present. John was constantly on the road, working gigs and maintaining his career. This took a toll on his family life, and JD has shared how difficult it was to have a father who was always working but never home. The sacrifices John made for his career were not always understood by his family, but they ultimately shaped JD's perspective on what it meant to be successful. John Witherspoon's legacy as a provider and comedian was undeniable, but the toll it took on his family was something that was kept behind the scenes. John's struggle to balance his work and family life became more evident as he grew older. Even as his career flourished, his health began to decline, and JD noticed how hard it was for his father to slow down. Despite his deteriorating health, John kept pushing himself to keep working. He didn't want to stop, even when he should have. JD has expressed how difficult it was to see his father continue to hustle, even when his body was telling him to rest. John's relentless work ethic was a driving force in his life, but it also led to physical exhaustion and emotional strain. The truth about John's family struggles is a stark reminder of the sacrifices that many celebrities make in the pursuit of success. John Witherspoon's story shows how even the most successful actors can face emotional battles that the public never sees. His dedication to his career may have made him a comedy icon, but it also created personal challenges that he had to navigate in silence. JD's reflections on his father's struggles provide a new perspective on the man behind the laughter, showing that John Witherspoon's legacy is as much about his family's resilience as it is about his comedic genius. The Boondocks and the role that could have been JD. One of the most iconic roles John Witherspoon ever played was that of Robert Freeman in The Boondocks, an animated series that became a staple in pop culture. But what if the role of Robert Freeman had gone to someone else? Someone even closer to John's legacy. After John's sudden passing in 2019, there was one big question that arose. Who would step into the massive shoes of Robert Freeman for the relaunch of The Boondocks? Naturally, many assumed that John's son, JD Witherspoon, would be the one to take on the role. JD had grown up around the entertainment industry and had a natural talent for voice acting, so it seemed like a no-brainer. He had even mastered his father's voice and could mimic it with uncanny accuracy. JD knew that if anyone could carry on his father's legacy on The Boondocks, it would be him. But what happened next was a cold dose of reality that would prove to be a tough pill to swallow for JD. Despite his talent and his family connection, JD found himself shut out of the role he thought was meant for him. The casting directors for The Boondocks weren't ready to hand over the role to JD. They didn't see the obvious connection between JD's talent and his father's legacy. When JD walked into the audition, he was met with a surprising lack of recognition. One of the coordinators even asked if it was his first time in front of the microphone, seemingly unaware of his resume and background. This lack of acknowledgement was a harsh wake-up call for JD, who had always thought his father's legacy would open doors for him in the industry. Despite his obvious skills and experience, JD was told that the role of Robert Freeman had already been given to someone else. The timing of this decision couldn't have been worse. This casting decision was made during the very same week that John Witherspoon passed away. JD was crushed, not just because he had hoped to honor his father's memory through this role, but because he realized that in the cutthroat world of Hollywood, talent wasn't always enough. Even with the connection to his legendary father, JD was treated like just another unknown actor, forced to fight for his place in the business without any special privileges. JD's experience with the Boondocks casting process highlights the harsh realities of the entertainment world. Despite the obvious talent he found himself struggling to get ahead in an industry that often refuses to give people a break, even when they're the most qualified for the job. But in a way, this only fueled JD's desire to carve out his own path in the industry. He wasn't going to rely on his father's name to get ahead. He was going to prove his own worth. JD's journey serves as a reminder that even those who seem destined for success must face their own struggles to earn their place in the world. The disappointment of being overlooked for the role of Robert Freeman was a tough moment for JD, but it also pushed him to continue striving for his own success. The road ahead was never going to be easy, but JD Witherspoon was determined to honor his father's legacy in his own way. Financial struggles in Hollywood. John Witherspoon's success in Hollywood may have seemed like a dream come true, but the reality behind the glitz and glamour was far from perfect. Despite his success in the comedy world and his long-running roles in iconic films and TV shows, John struggled with financial issues throughout his career. JD has revealed that while his father was often seen as a Hollywood success story, the reality was that John had his fair share of money problems, particularly in the early years of his career. While John's career was filled with ups and downs, he never stopped working. Even after becoming a household name, he had to hustle to make ends meet. There were times when John found himself barely scraping by, living paycheck to paycheck, and struggling to make the rent. JD remembers his father's financial struggles well, noting how John would pay his rent 6 months in advance to ensure he had a place to stay, even when money was tight. This was a side of his father's life that many fans didn't see. The constant fight to stay afloat in an industry that didn't always reward talent as it should. One of the most shocking revelations about John's financial situation came from his time on Friday, the cult classic that helped solidify his place in Hollywood. Despite the film's massive success, the actors were paid shockingly low wages. John Witherspoon recalled how the actors were paid only $5,000 each for their roles in the film, which cost $2 million to make. This was a stark contrast to the $300 million the movie grossed at the box office. But even though Friday became a massive success, John never saw any additional compensation for his work. This is a harsh reminder of how the entertainment industry often fails to fairly compensate actors, even when their work leads to immense success. While John Witherspoon's financial struggles were more prevalent in the early years of his career, they didn't disappear entirely. Even as his career continued to rise, he was still working hard to make ends meet, always fighting to secure his financial future. This was a side of his life that many fans didn't realize, but JD's reflections on his father's financial battles provide a sobering look at the realities of life in Hollywood. The relentless work ethic that never stopped. John Witherspoon's death in 2019 at the age of 77 was a tragic end to a career that had spanned decades. While fans around the world mourned the loss of a comedy legend, those who knew John personally understood that his passing was a result of years of relentless work and hustle. Even in his later years, John didn't slow down. He continued to take on stand-up gigs, film roles, and television appearances, even when his health was declining. John's work ethic was legendary, and he never stopped working, even when most people his age would have retired. His commitment to his craft was unwavering, and this determination is what defined him as both a person and an actor. JD has discussed how his father continued to work right up until the end of his life. Despite his declining health, John didn't let up. He kept grinding, trying to maintain his place in the industry and doing what he loved. But as JD explains, this constant work ethic came at a cost. John was constantly on the go, always hustling, and this took a toll on his body. His passing, while sudden and shocking, was a stark reminder that even those who achieve great success can't escape the physical and emotional toll of relentless work. John's decision to keep working, even in his later years, speaks volumes about his love for comedy and his fear of losing his place in Hollywood. But it also highlights the harsh realities of an industry that demands constant output from its stars. JD has said that John's work ethic was a way for him to prove that he was still relevant, still capable, and still valuable in the industry. Even as his body began to fail him, John refused to slow down. This relentless drive was part of what made him such a beloved figure, but it also led to his untimely death. In his final years, John never stopped pushing forward. He continued to take roles, perform stand-up, and connect with his fans. His passing was a reminder that even those who seem to have everything can still face struggles. For John Witherspoon, his career and his love for comedy were everything. He was driven by a deep desire to make people laugh and to leave behind a legacy of joy. But in the end, his health couldn't keep up with the demands he placed on himself. JD's reflections on his father's final years paint a picture of a man who never stopped fighting, even when his body was telling him to rest. It's a heartbreaking but powerful reminder of the toll that fame and success can take on a person's life. John Witherspoon may have left us too soon, but his work ethic and his dedication to his craft will never be forgotten. A legacy of humor and struggle. John Witherspoon's passing left a void in the comedy world, but his legacy lives on through his son, JD Witherspoon. JD, who followed in his father's footsteps, has faced many of the same challenges that his father did. Despite having a famous father, JD has worked hard to carve out his own path in the entertainment industry. But just like John, JD was confronted with the harsh realities of Hollywood. His journey as an actor and voice actor has not been without its struggles, and it's been a testament to his resilience that he hasn't relied on his father's name to get by. JD knew that he had big shoes to fill, especially after his father's death. Many people assumed that he would take over his father's iconic voice roles, particularly the character of Robert Freeman in the Boondocks. But what JD quickly realized was that the industry wasn't ready to hand him those roles just because of who his father was. Despite his impressive talent, JD found himself overlooked in favor of other actors. The industry was cutthroat, and even with his father's legacy, JD had to fight for his place in Hollywood. One of the most heartbreaking moments for JD came when he auditioned for his father's role in the Boondocks relaunch. Despite his uncanny ability to mimic his father's voice, he was met with resistance from the show's casting directors. They didn't seem to recognize who he was or appreciate the legacy he carried. JD remembers walking into the audition and being treated as if he were just another unknown actor, despite his experience in the industry. This was a harsh wake-up call for JD, who had hoped that his father's influence would open doors for him. But the rejection was just one part of the story. JD faced a bigger challenge when he found out that the Boondocks casting directors had already reached out to other actors to fill the role of Robert Freeman, even before John had passed away. This was a painful realization for JD. It felt as if Hollywood was moving on from his father's legacy before he even had the chance to honor it. This moment encapsulated the harsh reality of Hollywood. No matter who your family is, you still have to fight for your place in the industry. Despite the disappointments and challenges, JD Witherspoon has continued to pursue his career, refusing to let his father's legacy overshadow his own journey. He's worked hard to build his own name in the industry, particularly in voice acting, where he's making a name for himself. But it hasn't been easy, and JD's experience serves as a reminder of how tough it can be for the children of famous parents to step out of their shadows and make their own mark. Still, JD carries on his father's spirit, continuing to pursue his dreams, just as John did throughout his own life. John Witherspoon's life was a testament to hard work, resilience, and an unrelenting commitment to his craft. Behind the laughter, the iconic catchphrases, and unforgettable roles, there was a man who faced real challenges, from personal struggles to financial battles and the harsh realities of Hollywood. His story isn't just one of fame and fortune, it's about the determination to keep moving forward, even when the odds seemed stacked against him. As we reflect on John's legacy and the revelations his son JD has shared, we're reminded of the complexities behind the personas we admire. In the world of entertainment, where everything is often a performance, it's easy to forget the human beings behind the spotlight. JD Witherspoon continues his father's legacy, but his journey is far from easy. He has to fight for his place in an industry that doesn't always recognize talent, especially when the name on the resume isn't enough. So, what do you think? How do you feel about the untold stories behind John Witherspoon's life and his son's struggles to carry that torch? What impact do you think John's career had on Hollywood and comedy, and how will he be remembered? Drop your thoughts in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this deep dive into John Witherspoon's fascinating life, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more compelling, real stories from the world of entertainment.